Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to this installment of Mike's Vehicle Vlogs. Thank you so much for joining me today. So summer is finally starting to wind down, and well, the last couple of days it was actually pretty nice once the rain stopped. The temperatures were not overly hot, but today we are up near the mid-90s again. It is a scorcher out here. I honestly don't even want to keep the camera sitting out here for long because I don't want the heat from the sun to really take a toll on it. So, yeah, but the entire week weather-wise, last week wasn't too bad after the rain stopped. But last week we also had a very interesting situation with both of my cars. The 2015 Ford Fusion was just recently purchased. As this is being filmed, have only had this car. We're just shy of the 1 month period. So I've had it for about a month. In a couple days, it'll be 1 month. But I had to have it put back in the shop for a second time. In my previous vlog about the Fusion, I did mention how I had to have it in the shop after I've had it for just a couple days because the windshield wipers, or the driver's side wiper, was not perfectly aligned with the windshield. The wiper only came up to about here. It should have come up to here, so they had to adjust that, and it seems to be working perfectly fine now. And I did mention how it was going to have to go back into the shop for another small issue on the inside, but there were a couple of other things that I had to have them look at also when it did go back into the shop for that little tiny repair. And then there's also the 2015 Ford Fiesta, which we have had for over a year and a half now. We're going to be going on 2 years in January. This upcoming January will be 2 years. This car has been phenomenal as far as our ownership goes, but I had to have it in the shop for a major repair. And you guys may have an idea of what it was. I will get to what the issue on this one is going to be here in just a moment. So let's talk about the Fusion. Let's talk about this one first, since it is the newest out of the two, and the fact that its repairs weren't nearly as extensive as the Fiestas. Okay guys, so like I said, it is really hot out there, and I didn't want to keep the camera or myself out there today. This car is actually saying we're at 95 degrees outside, so I had to come in here and just turn the air conditioner on. So I'm sorry for the background noise with the AC running and such. So let's cover what I had the Fusion in the shop for. Now, so far, I really think the Fusion has been a wonderful car. I can't say that enough. I have honestly enjoyed every aspect of this vehicle so far, and you know, at this point, you know, while I do still miss my Escape, you know, just because of how long I had the Escape, and I feel like my Escape and I had a really good relationship, so to speak. But you know, I was really nervous getting rid of the Escape because the Escape was such a wonderful car, and I only really had 2 issues the entire nearly 3 years that I had my Escape. So only 2 issues I've ever had to really deal with, one being a major issue, the other one being a very minor issue. And that's actually really good compared to all of the other vehicles that I have had, which were mostly all like Pontiacs and one Oldsmobile. You know, I would usually end up with more than just 2 issues, maybe even within a whole year. But within 3 years and only having to deal with 2 issues total, you know, really, really good, in my opinion. Best car I ever had was that Escape so far. So when I bought the Fusion, I was kind of worried about, you know, well, what if I don't get that much luck, you know, out of this car like I did my Escape. You know, but there's a lot of good factors into buying this car. For one, it's a certified pre-owned, so even though the bumper-to-bumper warranty is going to be up here probably within the next couple hundred miles or so, the powertrain warranty on a certified pre-owned is going to be at least 7 years or 100,000 miles, whichever one comes first. So at least I know you know, all of the major powertrain components are going to be covered, and that makes me feel really good. So the Escape had no more warranty. We were at about 90,000 miles with the Escape, and I didn't have any warranty on it. So this is going to be covered for at least another 7 years. I really doubt I'm going to reach 100,000 miles and by then. So I'm going to say I'm going to have the warranty for 7 years. We never know. But enough about that. I did have the Fusion taken back to the shop last week, and well, I had a couple of things that I had to talk about as far as the Fusion. A couple of things that I was concerned about, and a couple of things that I had to have repaired also. So the original thing that I needed to have done with the Fusion, if you recall on the last video that I made of the Fusion, was the 12-volt power outlet that is placed over here underneath the center console. First time I went to go use it, there was no power with it. So it was just completely dead, and I had to resort to using the one that's inside the armrest here. No big deal. There's also a third one back here behind the center console for the rear passengers, and both of these ones seem to work just fine, but the one that was up front, the one that I would probably end up using the most, which is probably why it didn't work, but that's the one that quit working. So it turns out that, you know, I took it in, they checked it, and there was power going to it. However, the prongs on the inside, the things that actually squeeze against your power, you know, plug, well, they were just worn out. So my device wasn't making good contact with the actual current going to the plug. So they did end up replacing the plug for me, and of course that was covered under the original warranty. So it's working just fine now, and I have no complaints there. Now, another thing that was actually broken on this car before I bought it, and I'm really surprised that I didn't really notice this, but I had only put gas in this car maybe twice, and you know, I kind of noticed that the fuel door was maybe, you know, a little loose, but I had never dealt with these newer style fuel doors where you push on the door itself and it, you know, kind of comes out a little bit so you can grab it and move it over. I knew there was some play in it, but I come to find out that it's actually broken. And I figured this out because not only did somebody I work with think that maybe the gas door was open when it really wasn't. It was just out of alignment a little bit, I guess, after I'd closed the last time, because it was broke. But I also checked out another Fusion gas door on one of the cars at the dealership, and sure enough, it was spring-loaded and everything. So I had them look at that as well, and sure enough, the gas door was broke on the inside, so it was actually barely holding on to anything once it was opened up all the way. So I did have a new gas door put on. They reused the same paint cap, the cap on the outside, so that way the paint looks the same, so I didn't have to have anything repainted. They just slid the other cap off and put it on the new door assembly, and you would never even know. So we got a new fuel door, and that was also covered under warranty. Now, another thing that I had to have looked at was the alignment. Now, I say the alignment because I knew before they certified the car had gone through a front end alignment. It was on the alignment machine, of course, and they actually use a computer to align, you know, make sure that the tires and stuff are all aligned so you don't have any pulling and such. So I knew the car had a front end alignment, but from time to time I would notice that the car would slightly pull to the right. And it was really strange because I didn't feel like I had to fight with the car the entire time. I don't know if it was maybe when I reached a certain speed or not, but you know, I would notice from time to time that it would start to want to pull to the right. Almost as if maybe you had a low tire, like your tire pressure was a little low, and you kind of get that nudge to the right or so, like, you know, whichever tire is low, of course, but it kind of felt like that. Well, the tires were, you know, they're still in good shape, and they all have the appropriate air pressure in them. So I had, you know, that same day I had the car in the shop, they rechecked the alignment, everything looked good, but the tech who did the alignment said that it might be what's called a radial pull. And I'd never really heard of radial pull, But basically what he ended up doing was he took both of the front tires, switched them this way, and ever since then it's been driving fine. So it might just be maybe the car had a bad alignment at one time. You know, I don't really know what the alignment specs were of this car before I bought it, before they did the alignment. So I don't know if maybe they drove on it and kind of wore the tire down a little bit to a certain point and it's got to rebalance itself out. But ever since they swapped the two front tires with each other, the car has been driving perfectly fine. So I'm happy. And last but not least, I did have a slight transmission concern. And I started noticing this roughly around the week that, you know, before I had put it in here. So it's almost like all of these things were just kind of collecting and I get them all out of the way at once, you know. But I've noticed, you know, from time to time that the first and second shifts, going from gear 1 to 2, sometimes they were a little harsh, even after the car was warmed up. So, you know, they took it out for a drive and they really didn't see anything out of the ordinary. So honestly, I don't know if it's just me being a little paranoid because I have a brand new car and I'm still learning about it. You know, it really hasn't done it a whole lot since then, so I don't know if maybe it was just like a fluke. But you know, I did have them check the transmission and such, you know, and everything seemed to be okay. There again, I have the powertrain warranty, so if anything does happen to the transmission in the future, at least, you know, we have the warranty and the powertrain, it will be covered. So I'm not so much worried about it now, but I did just want to get that out of the way in case anything was going to develop, you know. So like I said, it might just be me learning the car, and it might have just been an on-off you know, fluke. But ever since then, it's been actually shifting and driving just fine. So as of right now, you know, we got the 12-volt power outlet replaced, we got the fuel door replaced, we had the alignment checked and had the front tires swapped with each other, and we had the transmission checked as well, and everything checks out okay. So the Fusion is in good health at the moment. And again, I'm not really going to count any of these issues as part of a bad ownership experience with the Fusion, only because none of these things have broken on me while I've had it. Yeah, same thing with like the wiper. You know, the wiper must have been out of alignment before I bought the car. So I'm not really counting any of these as like a bad experience or any issues that I've really had with the car, you know, after I bought it. So there again, you know, the power plug was already kind of broken, the fuel door was already kind of broken, and yeah, I'm not going to count that as any issue that I've really had because they had already existed and we just didn't really know about it. So that's really all I got to say about the Fusion, and let's go into the Fiesta, and I will tell you guys what big repair we finally had to have done with that. Okay, so here we are in the Fiesta. Again, air conditioning, sorry, very hot. And, well, you know, as I mentioned a little bit ago, you know, we've had this Fiesta for over a year and a half now. It's been an absolute wonderful car, but it wasn't until, you guys know exactly where I'm going with this. It wasn't until earlier this year, back in either February or March, somewhere around there, I did have the Fiesta taken back to the dealership because we started to get the transmission shutter. Now, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, the Fiesta is equipped with a 6-speed dual clutch transmission, which is basically a manual transmission that is controlled by a computer. So it's an automatic, but it's not an automatic. It's like a semi-automatic. There's all kinds of terms you can use for this. There's no you know, manual stick shift in here or not. You got a regular shifter, but the transmission is programmed like a manual. There's a lot of components in the transmission that are not in it, like you would in like the Fusion. The Fusion has a regular automatic, so there's like a torque converter and all kinds of other stuff. The power shift transmission doesn't have any of that. So it's literally just gears, a dual clutch pack, a computer, maybe a couple of little things here and there, and that's it. But these transmissions have been known to give their owners issues. I think there might have actually been a class action lawsuit against Ford for these transmissions. When we bought the Fiesta, I knew that this wasn't going to act like a regular transmission because of the type that it is. I even told my wife that, you know, it's not going to act like a regular automatic, so if you feel any, you know, jerks or anything like that from time to time, that's normal. But when you start getting the shudder, which I always thought was somewhat normal also, you know, because it's obviously the clutch is kicking in and out, you know, that's no big deal also. And we were having that, but it was getting bad. So we were actually getting like da-da-da-da-da shudders, and that's not good. So I had it taken to the shop months ago, and what they did was they reprogrammed the TCM, the transmission control module. Gave it about another 1,000 miles or so, and honestly it was fine ever since. We really didn't have any of those shudders like we were having. But within the last couple of weeks they came back, and they started coming back pretty bad. Now I've noticed that a lot of this has to do with only when we're like on long drives with the car, and my wife, who now has 2 jobs in 2 different cities, has to commute from one to another on some days, and that's a lot of driving, and by the time she gets to the second destination, the transmission is starting to shudder like crazy. So I really always felt like it was a heat related issue, and it obviously has to do with the clutch pack. So I got it into the shop last week, right after the Fusion got out of the shop, and had them look at it again. They drove it. Now here's the funny thing, they drove it while the engine, like after I took it to work and it sat for a while, they drove it after it sat for a long time, and it didn't do anything, nothing at all. But then they took the car back to the shop and they let the car just run without being driven. They let the car run for like a half hour, something like that. They just let it get warm, you know. Obviously, if it's not moving and the engine's on, the transmission's still gonna get warm because everything's still kind of circulating, you know. So, yeah, so they let it sit to see what happened when the transmission started getting warm. And they took it out and they drove it, and sure enough, it started to shudder. So we finally got the clearance to have the clutch changed. Yes, that's right. The Fiesta has a brand new dual clutch pack in its transmission now. Now the new clutch packs that Ford has released ever since they kind of did their little recall or whatever they did with it, their service bulletin or whatever, they did redesign these clutch packs, and from what I'm told, they are supposed to be much durable than the original clutch packs that were originally put in the cars at this time period. So hopefully in the future we won't have to have any of these back. And they've been putting these clutch packs in these cars for probably well over a year now, and you know, I even asked the tech, you know, have you seen any of them come back, and very rarely do they see them come back. There's been a couple that have come back, he says, that he knows of, but nothing compared to what has been coming in with the factory, the straight from the factory clutches. And I can tell you what, after having the new clutch in this car, it is amazing at how well it's been shifting. There has been no lag in the shifts whatsoever, no kicking or bucking or whatever, definitely no shuddering. This thing shifts so smooth now. It's amazing. Like, it literally just doesn't even feel like the same transmission is in this Fiesta. Now, of course, there's a break-in period, and they had to reset the TCM again, so they did say, you know, if anything starts to come back after like 1,000, 1,500 miles, somewhere around there, you know, to let them know. But we really shouldn't have any weird issues after that. It should still be, you know, somewhat of a smooth shift, straight, you know, straight on from there. Now, along with the clutch packs, you guys have no idea what else has to be replaced when they have to drop the transmission and take the clutch out of the transmission. There's actually a small list here of parts that have to be used to, you know, put the new clutch back in. This, of course, is the part number for the clutch assembly. You also have to have some new seals put in, so there's a seal assembly that's included that has to be put in there. There's also on the Fiesta a special kind of plate that has to go, you know, on this, and there's also another gasket that has to be put in. They also have to drain the transmission fluid, obviously, when they take the transmission out. So they have to put some of the transmission fluid back into it. Sorry, that's this XT11 here. This is engine oil, because you have to take off the oil filter to remove the transmission. The oil filter, you know, the assembly for the oil filter sits right there, and they have to take the filter off in that assembly. So you lose some engine oil. They use a quart. I don't think they put a whole quart into the filter, but you know, but they do that. And of course, brake cleaner. And I think the brake cleaner is just to clean off all of the other, you know, parts, make sure they're clean going back together, I think is all they use that for. So that really has nothing to do with the actual brake system or anything. Nothing has to be done there. But brake cleaner is pretty much just, you know, cleaning off some additional parts. So yeah, if you guys think that they just have to redo a clutch, put a clutch in, and that's it, no, there's a lot of work that has to be done in that. And you know, the car was actually in the shop. They actually had it torn apart, and they were doing all this, and I think it was like a 3 to 4 hour job that they were actually doing this Fiesta here. So it's a very interesting fact, but it's done now, and it's amazing. It's amazing at how well this thing drives now. It even, like when you put your foot off the brake, it even kicks into gear faster. So the clutch definitely engages a lot quicker from a stop compared to how the other one was. I mean, the shifting is just so smooth now, and I'm just really impressed with how well it feels after the new clutch has been put in. I really, really hope that we don't have to face the issue with that, you know, ever again. It's really nice. Alright guys, so there you have it. That is going to wrap up this vlog, and just giving you guys the update as far as what the issues on both of these cars have been so far. Was really, really hoping, I really was hoping we wouldn't have to go through the whole clutch procedure with the Fiesta. For a while there, we were actually really lucky, and I was hoping that maybe we wouldn't have to have it done. But since the car is driving so much better now with the brand new clutch and stuff, I am really glad that we ended up going through with that also. And hopefully we won't have to have the Fusion taken in for any major repairs in the future. But the ownership experience with this one is still new. I do know with my last car, my Escape, it brought me such good luck, and I'm still hoping, I still have a good feeling that this one will deliver the same exact luck that I've had with my last Ford. So if you guys enjoyed this vlog, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, don't forget to comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Also check out teespring.com/store/Mike's Vehicle Spotlight for all of your MVS and vlog merchandise. You can also check out all of the merchandise down below this video underneath the description box. T-shirts and stickers are what I have for sale now, so check those out. Don't forget to order yours today, and I will see you guys next time. So thank you so much for watching, and take care.